Good morning, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us today. We have a very packed schedule of information, so we're going to try to move through it as swiftly and as thoroughly as we can. My name is Tanya Mallett Smith. I'm the director of the Office of Student Support here at the South Carolina Department of Education, where we do administer the federal Sexual Risk Avoidance Education Subgrant. So we're glad to have all of you on the call if you're interested in applying for these funds. We hope that you have read through the RFP and kind of familiar with what we're going to be going over now. If you have any questions, feel free to add them in the chat so we can address them in our question and answer period. Uh, um, and we will allow time for you guys to ask questions during the presentation and also at the end. So if there are no other housekeeping issues, we will go ahead and get started. Oh, and let me note, this is being recorded, so we will try to get this presentation out to you as soon as we get it prepared. As I said, we have a full agenda today. We're going to go through the introduction, the purpose, of course, review the RFP instructions, and then LaShonda DeBose from our grants office will go over your online application process. Keep in mind, this is just a quick overview of the RFP. You are ultimately responsible not for what I say on this call only, but also everything that's written in that RFP. So make sure it's a lot to read, but I would highly recommend you read the entire thing from start to finish before you actually start putting together your application to make sure you have everything you need to do that. And there was an updated version added to the website. So make sure that the one that you are reading does have this cover on it. Okay, it should have the highlighted yellow where we did update it back on March 5th. So make sure that the RFP you're looking at is the correct RFP. So be sure to take some time and go through that. In 2024, the Department of Health and Human Services did award these funds to the South Carolina Department of Education. And the purpose of this grant is to provide and support eligible organizations to implement education exclusively on sexual risk avoidance, and that teachers use to voluntarily refrain from sexual activity. So that is what the purpose of these funds are. And it is very important that the organizations that we do fund can document they have the capacity to implement an SRA program that will promote abstinence until marriage, specifically for students ages 10 through 19. We have about $1.1 million available for this funding cycle, which is actually October 1st of 2024 through September 30th of 2025. The minimum amount you can ask for is $100,000, with the maximum being $600,000. Keeping in mind that depending on how many applications come in and what those costs are, we may have to negotiate some of the salaries if we have more, if our request for funding is higher than the amount of money we have to award. The grant period, yes, is October 1, 2024 through September 30th, 2025. We appreciate you guys' patience as we work to get this program up and running with a short turnaround time and a very short learning curve for the department to pull the funds out. So with that being said, any services, right, that you guys are implementing right now that you're going to be writing into or including in your application, if those are allowable activities, you can go back through October 1st of 2024 and reimburse those claims. So if you are providing services right now and those services are not being funded through another federal state grant, you can definitely we can reimburse you for any allowable activities during that period of time. So I would recommend that you make sure if you're going to consider using any of the entities you're working with right now, that those are the entities you include in your application. We also ask that you remember this is a reimbursable award, as most awards are coming from the Department of Education, that our finance department will reimburse you for funds that you've already expended. So we recommend that you have at your disposal at least 3 months of sustainable funds, because it may take a little while for us to get your financial accounts up and running. So just know that you'll have to continue to forward spend those funding and maintain your documentation so that you can get those funds back in a reimbursement. Again, we will only honor any expenditures from October 1. Anything prior to the October 1 for these federal funds will not be reimbursed. Our eligible applicants, to apply for this grant, you have to have a minimum of 3 years of documented history that you've been providing sexual risk avoidance education using an evidence-based curricula. Okay, so if this is your first time kind of working in abstinence education, you may not be eligible for these fundings. You have to have at least 3 years of history working in this area. We are awarding competitive priorities. That will be an additional 5 points. If your application proposes to serve any of these counties, these are some of the highest risk, the counties with the highest risk of teen pregnancies in South Carolina. So if you're looking to work in any of these areas, there will be a portion of your application where you can note that, and you will be eligible to receive 5 additional points. Our timeline, of course, today is our technical assistance session. The deadline for application is April 15th. It has to be sent electronically. It has to be sent according to the outline that Mr. Bowes will go over with you. We do not accept paper applications. You cannot bring them up here to the agency. It has to be in by close of business on April 15th. Our goal is to make the awards in May. Again, the funding period is retro back to October 1, so keep that in mind. And the funding period ends September 30th, 2025, with your final reports, your fiscal and your programmatic reports being due to us December 30th of 2025. And we will go over a little bit more what that looks like when awards are made. It is very important you pay attention to pages 3 and 4 of your RFP, where we go over the federal goal and objectives, the program requirements, your medically accurate and culturally appropriate information, and your evidence-based strategies. So I'm not going to go through all that today because it's quite a lot, but they are very important that you keep those things in mind as you're writing your application, and that you make sure these things are included in your plan. We must serve students or youth between the ages of 10 and 19. Your curricula must meet all the Title V, Section 510 be that whole citation, right? Of the 2017 Social Security Act, it has to meet those regulations. You can look that up. And then also the curriculums you use must be listed as documented evidence of effectiveness. We kind of look to reascend.org, where you do collect a list of curricula that has been proven effective and research-based. So we ask that the curriculums that you use be one of the curriculums that are on that list. That is a hyperlink in your RFP. You should be able to click there, and it'll take you directly to that link. And we also ask that you follow all the required components and all that is discussed or touched on in your application. Remembering there's also another set of rules regulations you must adhere to if you're going to be providing any services in the public school system here in South Carolina. And those are outlined for you in the South Carolina Comprehensive Health Education Act. So if you click there, it will take you to that act and what you have to do in order to provide abstinence education in a public school in South Carolina. And just a note I made here to just remind you all, some of you may have already received some state funds for sexual risk avoidance from the Department of Education. Keep in mind that these programs you're submitting for now cannot be already included in those grant applications or funded from any other funding source, right? These are not, you cannot supplant with these funds. It's only to supplement what you guys are doing. So these funds will have to be directed toward programs that are not currently being funded through other federal or state grants. Our state goal and performance measures. Our ultimate goal is to decrease teen birth rates and teen HIV STI rates in South Carolina by providing support to school and communities, that we're using evidence-based curricula, mentoring, and counseling, and that we increase the proportion of adolescents who are postponing sexual activity as the primary means to prevent teen pregnancy, teen births, and STIs. Our performance measures, we're hoping by, I just found a big typo. These things says June, but I will send a correction out for you guys. It actually should be by September 30th because we're going to run this program through the end of the federal fiscal year and not the state fiscal year. But we do anticipate, our goal is to see 45% of students who've attended at least 75% of your sessions. Will increase the likelihood to avoid sexual risky behaviors. That 35% who attend 75% of your program will begin to think through their consequences before making decisions and are able to resist peer pressure. That 40% who've attended 75% of the sessions will report that the program has increased their likelihood of delaying sexual intercourse until they're married, and that a minimum of 250 adults receive information on South Carolina's abstinence until marriage programs and techniques they can use to assist in communicating that with their youth. So these are the goals we're looking for you guys to kind of hit as you implement these programs. Again, I will send out a correction that this date should be September at the end of the federal year, not the state year. My apologies. Make sure that you have a unique entity identifier from the federal system, which is called sam.gov. As the applicant, you must include that valid UEI on your online application. We will be asking for that. We cannot make a subaward to federal funds of an applicant that does not comply with those requirements. So you can click here if you need any help on getting your sam.gov set up. And this is a change in the regulations that organizations, to receive a direct grant from the federal government, the organization must be registered and maintain an active sam.gov registry prior to and throughout the entire award process. So you have to make sure you have that done, and you make sure you have a valid UEI. And also attached to your RFP are the terms and assurances and conditions for federal awards coming through the Department of Education. Make sure you review all of those and make sure that this is something your entity can attest to, that you guys will be able to follow all those assurances, and the signed certification page that you submit with your application will be a legally binding contract that, yes, you recognize, you read through, and you understand these assurances and terms and conditions, and that you are willing to follow them to maintain full compliance. So it's very important that you read those terms and conditions. It is important that with your application, you submit to us a full budget and a budget narrative that explains how your funds will be used. That a template will be is available for you, I believe, with the RFP to complete that. We ask you to be as detailed as possible in your narrative so we can understand exactly what you are doing. There should be nothing in your budget narrative that was not discussed previously in your application narrative. There should be no surprises in the budget, and there should be nothing in the application that the budget does not support. So keep in mind when you're submitting your asking for your reimbursement, everything in that narrative must be, anything you submit for reimbursement must have been already included in that narrative. Okay, so keep that in mind. Your narrative and your budget should kind of mirror each other. We ask that you go ahead and choose your application to make sure that it is medically accurate and age appropriate. And again, all the curriculum in public schools must be approved by the school district in accordance with the Comprehensive Health Education Act. So make sure you read that carefully to ensure that all those steps were taken before you can implement programs in public schools. There's a list of authorized and unauthorized activities for you on page 8 and page 9 of your RFP. Make sure you read those closely. so that you can see what you can write for in your, it's not a all-inclusive list, right? We can't list everything you can and cannot do, but it's a very good broad overview of what can and cannot be funded through this particular award. Make sure you meet your eligibility requirements for the grant. It's very, very important. If you know you don't have the minimum of 3 years, we're going to check for that, and we're not going to move your application forward. So make sure you meet the eligibility requirement. Make sure that you appropriately use these funds as described in your application. So if you said you were going to do 1, 2, and 3 in the application, don't go out here and do 8, 9, 10, right? You have to do what you said you're going to do. And you have to do them within the timeline that is given. So as we said, we are late in getting started. We're willing to go back to October 1 to consider reimbursing those allowable activities, but only reimbursements between October 1 of 2024 and September 30th of 2025 can be included in that time frame. Your organization will have to go through a pre-audit questionnaire for our auditing department. It is a electronic submission. So as you submit your application, be sure to also click the link in your RFP to go to the electronic submission of your pre-award evaluation from the auditing department. It will ask you questions about your the way you track your finances, your capacity to manage these types of funds, who's going to be doing what, the checks and balances. So it's very important that you submit that for us. And I can go ahead and let you know, probably because most of you are new to the agency, they will probably do some type of a pre-audit with you, just to make sure that everything is in line for you to handle this amount of money, and that you can withstand both a state and federal audit if that were to come into place. So I can pretty much promise you that if you are awarded, you will have an audit from our state audit department. And make sure you read over the program accountability and your performance reporting on page 90 RFP. Again, those are very, very important things to have in mind. I may not go into detail here, but it's still just as important. And the following are required for all your sub-recipients. We have to make sure you track the demographics of your students, the dosage your students receive. Like if they go to a workshop, it's going to be for 4 weeks, 2 days a week for 4 weeks at 30 minutes a day, right? That is your dosage. So make sure you're calculating the dosage. Any information you have on parental involvement, if you have sign-in sheets or however you track your parental involvement, and keep on record of the number of activities and the number of participants in your individual activities. So make sure you're tracking all information related to all the programs that you are implementing using these funds. The South Carolina Department of Education has a financial system called it's a grants accounting processing system. We call it GAPS. And this is how you will get your reimbursements from the Department of Ed. So again, once the awards are made, the finance department will work with you in setting that up and getting you trained on how to submit those reimbursements. Along with your reimbursements, you'll be required to submit a reimbursement report. We'll go over those due dates in just a moment, but that report just kind of gives me an overview of how you're spending, what you're spending, and how you're spending it. So as you lay out the amount of money you're spending, you'll also be telling me in this report how you're spending it. So just kind of a way for us to kind of maintain checks and balances as we go through the process. Even though expenditure reports are required within 45 days by federal regulation. I'm sorry, my lights just went off in my office. The SCDE encourages that you submit at least quarterly within 15 days of the end of the quarter. That just gives us a chance to kind of review it, and if something is wrong or something is unallowable, if we don't understand something, we have a quicker time to get back with you to straighten that out if we need to. So though you do have up to 45 days to make your reimbursements and your submit your reports, we are encouraging you to do that within 15 days of the end of the quarter. You can also make your reimbursements as often as once a month if you need to, but you have to do that at least every quarter. These are your reporting deadlines, and of course, I know we're starting late, so we will go over how this will look for you when awards were made so that we can catch up and get some funds back to you for services already rendered beginning back on October 1. A budget of your projected expenditures must be submitted with the application, as we talked about earlier. Make sure you include everything you're going to be covering: salaries, fringe, contracts, MOU. Anyone who has an MOU that'll be getting paid, they'll need to be included in your purchase services. Any supplies you need to purchase, have a formula for those supplies. I would recommend, if you're going to buy pens, you would say we're going to buy 4 boxes of pens at $5 each, and say how you got to that amount, right? The more information you give us about how you're getting to those numbers, the better and quicker we can go through your budget. The SCDE will monitor grantees by reviewing and approving progress reports and your annual reports. So those progress reports will be those quarterly reports you're sending in to us. As I said, with those reports, we can monitor both your programmatic activities as well as your fiscal activities. Program evaluation, the state has not for this round brought in external evaluators. So what we'll be doing will be using a lot of the data you guys are collecting there in your office, and we may have a survey for you guys to complete for us as we collect that data to report to the Fed. But there will not be an outside evaluation right now. And as we see fit or as requested, we will be providing technical assistance. We are here to help. Our email is checked numerous times a day. We try to get back to you all within 24 hours, even if we don't have the answer, just to kind of even let you know we're working on it. So the best way to get any information or get any assistance from our SRAE team here at the department is to use that South Carolina SRAE email address. Again, to reiterate, grantees must use grant funds for allowable grant expenditures during the grant period. Do what you said you're going to do in the time you said you're going to do it. It's basically what it's saying to you guys. Review again the allowable and the unallowable cost, and make sure that what you include in your applications as activities you're going to be providing to your students and your families are all allowable activities. Once the applications come into our office, the SRAE team, we will review them just to make sure everything is complete, right? We're going to use that same checklist that you guys have. We're going to go through and check that everything is completed, that all the required appendices are there, that the budget is there, that the MOAs, everything is there. We're not going to read the applications. We don't review them for content. We review them for completeness. So if there's anything missing, if your budget is not there, if your certification pages aren't signed, or anything that should have come in that packet is not there, that application will not be eligible for review. Okay, keep that in mind. You have to make sure everything is included. Once we do that, we will have the applications will be reviewed by, again, not the SRAE staff, and we will score you based on the same scoring rubric you guys have in the back of your RFP. And as I said before, we reserve the right to negotiate final budgets if we need to, or to disqualify any costs, or we may even ask you to kind of move around the things in your budget if they're not in the right funding areas once your awards are made. And keep in mind, until that grant award notification is signed by the superintendent of state of South Carolina and your authorized official, at that point is the award fully executed. The appeals process, if for any reason you are not awarded, you have 30 calendar days after receiving the notification that a proposal was not funded to request a review of the process. Your scores cannot be appealed. We're not going to review, reread applications and have them rescored. Your appeal can be that we did not follow the process that is outlined in your RFP. If you want that review, you must send it directly to the state superintendent, and then she will delegate a deputy superintendent to work with a team to make that review. Again, we will not reread or rescore applications. You can just appeal that for some reason or another, the process of reviewing the applications was not correct. Oh, that was a lot. Any questions? Is there anything in the chat, Emily? I don't see anything.
Nope, doesn't look like it.
Does anybody have any questions on what we just went over? You can raise your hand or drop it in the chat at this time. If not, we will plow ahead. Okay. Application overview. Again, read all the guidelines, read the RFP in its entirety before you start, right? Make sure you're reading it. Do what we say, do what we say. Use the right font, use the right format. Don't exceed the page limits, and don't take anything out of the order we have outlined. Keep it in the order, use the headings. Make it easy as you can for our reviewers to find what we're looking for. Include all the sections and all the appendices, and don't combine things together. Just follow the rules, right? Follow the rules. An incomplete application will not be reviewed. Okay, keep that in mind. We encourage you not to wait till the last minute because you all know technology works until it doesn't. So you don't want to be here at 4 o'clock on April 15th calling me saying, the lights went out in your town, right? Or your computer crashed. Yes, those things do happen, but I will strongly recommend that you submit before the date, just because what you can even do, if you give yourself time, you submit before the date and you found a mistake or an error or you forgot to submit something, you have time to submit again. What will happen will be when the submissions come in, we will always look at the most recent submission. So we've had instances where somebody did forget to send something in, they had to resubmit. We just void that first submission. We don't even open it. We don't even look at it. We don't even, consider it. We go with the most recent one. So the more time you give yourself to kind of check a mistake, if you make it, the better. Because if you find a mistake after 4:30 on the 15th, we're going to accept what's in the system. This application has a maximum of 40 pages. I'm not saying you have to give me 40 pages, but don't give me 10, right? So you have 40 pages. This excludes your table of contents, and it also excludes your program abstract, which we'll talk about in a moment. Please use the right font, Times New Roman or Arial at either 11 or 12 points. A one inch margin on all sides. Page numbers either at the top right or the bottom right. Please include your page numbers. Please, please, please. And double space your pages. It's very important that you double space. However, if you're bringing in charts or tables, we will allow those to be single spaced, but they still cannot be less than 11 or 12 point font. And your final format, everything I think except for the budget needs to be in a PDF document. Your budget can be submitted as a Excel document. And again, identify your sections clearly. Do not combine any of the sections. If you talking about your facility in the beginning of your grant when it's due in the end of the grant, the reviewers are not going to go back and score it there, right? It has to flow with the order of the rubric. Please keep that in mind. They're not going to go back and forth and look for it in the application. You must, again, use an online application. We have the online submission is organized into two sections, which is an online form and the proposal attachments. Make sure you have your tax identification number on your application form. And we're going to go through the instructions on how to pull that together and submit your application. Hey, your program abstract. This will be a summary of your program, what you're going to do in a one-page document. You might want to make sure you include your ability to perform the services as described. List for us your service area, which counties which county or counties and your zip codes or where you're going to be work. include a list of your curricula, the version of the curricula, because sometimes they have multiple versions to a curricula, and any and all supporting documents that you will use with the project, and the amount that you are requesting. So that is your program abstract. We should be able to look at that and kind of get a really good feel of what you're going to be doing and where you're going to be doing it and how much it's going to cost you to do it. That should be a single PDF document that is uploaded as an attachment into the online application. In your narrative content, this is worth 20 points where you talk about your organizational history, your experience, and your qualifications. You want to talk about how long you've been in existence and what you've done working with youth in the past. You want to list the version of the curriculum and support materials you may use. List the name of any of the organizations, the schools, the churches, or whomever you'll be working with in your program, and provide a strong rationale for funding based on sustaining documented history of providing services for youth, that you've done this before, this is the results that we've seen, this is some of the outcomes we've had, and that we have, have a good record of submitting our reports to other entities, on time and correctly. Again, note that these should be entities that are not currently being served using other foundation, state, or federal grant funds. Program management, you're going to talk about your staff, the training that you guys use, the training that you go through, how you make sure that programs are being implemented to fidelity. Again, if you're going to have a priority, if you're using one of the priority areas, you're going to list that here for us. Make sure you make it clear. List and describe the model you'll be using. Are you going to be doing school-based, faith, church-based? How are you going to get this information to your clients, your students? And describe the curriculum in a little bit more detail, and identify the methods that will be used to ensure that facilitators and educators who deliver the program are trained and understand how to provide SRA program and strategies. And that is worth 25 points. Also, in that same section, you want to talk about how you're going to identify the students. How do you, if you're using a school or a church, how do you identify those folks who receive those services? Talk about how you're going to notify parents of the services going to be receiving. Do you have any partners that are going to be working with you? What are their roles? How are they going to work with you to accomplish our objectives? And also describe how the program will coordinate and communicate and engage community organizations to reach your populations. Describing staff development or training opportunities that you guys have that will help to increase the knowledge of their communities that are being impacted by teen births. So this is where you're going to pretty much sell yourself and explain to us what you're going to be doing and how you're going to do it. Again, you want to spend some time talking about meeting these strategies. These are not the only goals you can have. If you want to add additional goals, make sure there are SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time specific. So you can add other goals as well. We ask that you also include with your application a sustainability plan. How are you going to continue to provide programs, if not on the level that these funds allow you to, but at some level, we will be looking for that you are not totally dependent on these funding to provide these services, that there are opportunities for you to continue providing services even without this funding at the same or maybe a lesser level. Also talk about your record keeping. How are you going to collect data on attendance, on demographics of your students, all those types of information we're going to be asking from you. How are you going to collect it, and what protocols you have in place to do that in a timely fashion. Again, the budget does not have any weight as far as scoring, but without it, your application will not be reviewed. So make sure you include it. Make sure your budget is from October 1 to September 1. For instance, you want to say, make sure everything you do is for 12 months, or make sure everything you do, counts, the number of weeks in the year, or however you're doing it, make sure it is for the full 12 months. If you're paying salary for 12 months, make sure you have salary in there for your staff for 12 months. For again, this is where you're writing your salaries, your fringe, any type of purchase services. When I purchase service, I mean when you're going to purchase a service, you're going to purchase someone's service of teaching, you know, I don't know, for Taekwondo or just whatever it is they're going to do for you guys, right? You put those things in the budget. If it's in the budget for a payment, there should also be an MOA or MOU attached to your appendices that explain who they are, what they're going to do, how often they're going to do it, where they're going to do it, and what the amount you have to pay them to get it done. So make sure you have those things included. That's we're talking about the contract must be in place. So make sure you have those included with your application. It is your responsibility to check sam.gov to make sure that these folks are not, who are receiving these federal funds are not debarred, suspended, or ineligible. We're not going to check on your vendors, but you must check on your vendors. Again, we reserve the right to disqualify, disallow, and negotiate costs associated with any line item proposed in the budget. So if you say you're going to buy pencils and your pencils are going to be, 40 to a box and the box costs $25, that is excessive, right? And we may go back and say you may need to find yourself a cheaper pencil. So just keep in mind make sure what you do is reasonable as you build your budget. Your appendices, they're outlined for you in your application as well. The certification signature page is what lets us know that you have read everything, you agree with everything, and you are going to comply with everything. So whoever is your authorized official for your entity, they will need to sign that for us. Make sure you complete the W-9 that's included. We need your certificate of existence to show that you're in good standing with the state of South Carolina. I will also recommend you submit any resumes of your project director, grant manager, any key personnel, maybe not all of your teaching staff, but definitely those folks who are going to be managing the staff and managing the program, and indirect cost rate if it's applicable. Also include your memorandum of agreement. Again, whoever is in your budget, who's ever in your narrative that you're going to provide use for a service, they should also be in your budget, and then you should also have an MOA or MOU to support that. So those things are going to be required if you have those memorandums of agreement. If you're going to have instruction in a public school, you have to provide the curriculum, and we also have to have a letter showing that they approve it and that they are willing to partner with you from the district personnel with supervision over that curriculum. And I would also recommend that you have a letter from your superintendents or the principal saying they're going to allow you to come in, and again, have in there, XYZ program will come into XYZ school for, 2 months, that, as much as you can, and have the school officials sign that they are giving permission to be in that school. Again, the pre-award questionnaire, that's an online form. It does not come in with your application, so you can submit that form at any time. It'll come directly to us, and we will attach it to your application when it comes in, but that will have to be completed. If by 4:30 on April 15th, we do not have this questionnaire in our office, your application will not be reviewed. And another note about the MOAs, everyone has to sign it. They need to be current. They need to be signed by your authorized official, and they need to be signed by the person who's providing the services, and they need to be current with the current dates. They must be submitted online before 5 o'clock. I say 4:30 just to give yourself a little window. On April 15th, you have to have all the guidelines to be reviewed, no hard copies. They must be original from the applicant. Don't go out and find somebody else's SRA application online and submit it as your own. Do not attach any additional information and additional materials except what we ask for. Don't give us pictures or testimonies or all that great stuff you want to add. If we didn't ask for it, do not include it. Your application will not be returned, so make sure you keep a copy of your entire application for your records. Note, if you are serving, I believe on the online submission, we only have space for maybe 4 or 5 actual entities as partners or wherever. If whatever space we have provided for you on the online applications is not sufficient for you to list all of your schools or entities or partners or whatever you need to list, we will allow for you to add another sheet that lists that out. Okay, so the same information that they're asking for on the online program, if you need to add additional names to do a sheet with all that information on it, we will accept that as a part of your application. Any questions on the narrative portion of the application? I don't see any in the chat, Emily. Does anybody have any question? You can raise your hand. Okay. Again, my name is Tanya Mallett-Smith. I'm director of the Office of Student Support. I can be reached at this email. Again, that is the best way to reach our office. Is monitored all day. It comes to my phone, it comes to my computer, it goes to Alex, who's our ed associate who handles this program. So any questions you have, the best way to go is to send it here. Also, when you send it to this email and not directly to me or Alex, it helps us keep record of questions so we can see if folks are asking the same questions or have the same concern. It may be something we need to address. So we highly encourage you to send all your correspondence to this email address, and we will get back with you within 24 hours for sure. I think our next slide will jump over to the submission process. Again, we have LaShondra DeBose. She's a grant coordinator from our Office of Grant Services, and she will take us through your online submission.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Tanya, for the introduction. Okay, am I in there? This morning, I have 2 objectives for you. As Tanya has already told you that I am going to take you through the online submission, but prior to even entering the online form, I'd like to discuss with you the information that you're going to need and gathering that information prior to starting your submission process. And then I will, second objective, will walk you through the online application form to help you submit a successful grant application. As general information, Tanya just went over this information, but do become familiarize yourself with the RFP, as it does have everything that you need, that you'll need to know about this competition. The deadline for this application is April the 15th by 5:00 p.m. Tanya has suggested 4:30 p.m. And we're also suggesting that you don't wait until the last minute to try to complete this application. And we're not able to extend the deadline for you. And once you get in the application, if you're trying to get in there and you submit this application after 5:00, it will not be accepted. And then third bullet, you will see the link for that takes you to a grant opportunity webpage. This competition has a webpage that is dedicated for the federal SRAE program, sub-grant program. And then the last bullet just lets you know that your applications are submitted online, and there's a link there. And I am going to take you through the process of how you can find this information. If you go to our website, the URL is ed.sc.gov, and we do have a new look to our website. Once you get on that website, scroll down to the very bottom. Currently, it's under that Vision tab. You will see South Carolina you will see the Grant Opportunities webpage. There it is. When you scroll down, you'll see the Grant Opportunity webpage is currently under Visions, and you click that link. That's an actual live link. Once you click that link, it takes you to the Grant Opportunities webpage. Here is where you will see a list of all of the current opportunities, open opportunities for grants and sub-grant programs that the SCDE administers. and you are looking for the 2024-25 Federal Sexual Risk Avoidance SRAE subgrant program link. So make sure when you're going here, we're asking that you go through our website and not Google it, as it may bring up something from the past. So go through the website and it'll take you step by step. Click on that link. Currently, it's listed as the first subgrant on the page, but we're constantly updating our grant opportunities webpage. So make sure that you pay attention to the actual subgrant that you're clicking on. Once you click on that link, it takes you to the web page that is dedicated solely for the federal SRAE subgrant program. And read over all of this information. It has different sections for you, starting with the description. In order to find the request for proposals, there's a document section. If you scroll down towards the bottom of the page, there's a document section that lists that has a link for the request for proposals, and that is where you will find the information for the application. It lists all the criteria for you. There's a link for the application link, the online form, which that link is also listed in the request for proposal. And then there is a budget narrative template, which is an Excel spreadsheet that you can download. I included this screenshot just for your reference. The application overview checklist is listed on page 14 of the RFP. You can print this out or have it on a separate screen to use as a reference as you're going through and compiling your information. And again, we suggest that you hold off on starting the online process until you have prepared the proposal attachments and compiled the information to be completed online. The RFP has screenshots. If you want to see what the online form looks like, the RFP has screenshots throughout towards the bottom of the RFP that shows you the what's in the online form. Make sure that you complete all attachments. I've given you page numbers for reference as well. The project abstract, the application narrative, the budget narrative, and on the next slide, you will see the appendices. If you refer to part 2 of the RFP, is titled the application overview, content, and instructions, and that section will help you gather all of the information that you will need to complete the online application. And again, this page just lists all of the appendices. This is another reference that you can use to make sure that you have all of the appendices completed. The appendices still have to be, it's one PDF, so all of these forms have to be submitted together. The system will only allow you to upload one document. So all of these, if you're scanning them, they need to be one document. And the pre-audit award questionnaire is an electronic form. And that certification signature page, make sure that you have all of the signatures that are required for that page, because if you don't have it signed, your application will be null and void, and we would hate for you to do all of this work and not be considered. Now I will take you through the actual online form process. Now that we've talked about what you need to do prior to entering the online form with gathering your information and familiarizing yourself with the RFP, now you can enter the online form. And this is the first page. This is what it looks like when you go into the online form. Make sure that it does have 2024-25 for federal SRAE, and not that it's one of the state programs. Make sure that you're in. It should be closed, but we've been experiencing some open. We've been experiencing an update that opened some of our older forms, and we just don't want you to run into that issue. The online form is organized into 2 different sections. You start with the online form sections, and then the second section is the application attachments. For applicant information, you will start by entering the official name of the applicant organization. Do not enter any acronyms for this. Spell the name out completely. And then you will enter your applicant, the address, And for the zip code, asking that you include those 4 digits, so the zip code +4. And then you will be asked to enter your UEI, which should be a 12-digit number, and then the TIN just should be a 9-digit number. If you don't have access to that, contact your financial organization and they should be able to give you those numbers. And then that drop-down menu asks for the number of sites to be served. We do have up to 5 listed in there, but Tanya has given you some guidance if you have additional. For contact information, this is the next section in the online application, and the contact information is the person that will receive the email for confirmation. Once you've completed this application, you will enter, starting with the prefix, Miss, Mr., Mrs., so forth, and then the first name, last name, the phone number, and then you'll see that the email address is asking that you enter it twice for verification. So when you enter that email address, manually enter it, don't copy and paste it, just for a checks and balances, make sure that you receive your submission. And then you will follow suit with the authorized official, enter the contact information, phone number, email address, and the same thing for the finance executive. This section on the program information is asking for the site. So this section is populated based on that drop-down menu. If you selected that you're serving one site, it's only going to show you one site. If you selected that you've served in 3, you will have to complete this for 3 different sites. You will be asked for the name of the site, the name of the curriculum, and then the proposed number of students that will be served at each site. The funding information, this is where you will enter the total funds that you are requesting. And then on that same page at the bottom, there's a section for your budget summary. Make sure when you enter your budget summary that you enter everything in whole dollars. And if you're not budgeting for a particular function code, that you enter 0. So if you're only budgeting for salaries, employee benefits, and maybe purchase services, and you don't have a 600 code, enter 0 there, so that we know that you're not, that's not something that needs to be considered. And the amounts that you budget needs to match the amounts that you requested, and then that total funds requested will automatically populate for you. Now moving on to the application attachments. This is the second part of the online form. Again, make sure that this is something that you should have already compiled and you're just ready to upload it. Starting with the program abstract, the application narrative, the budget summary, and then your appendices. Remember to refer to your RFP, as it will tell you how exactly to upload these documents and what should be included. The budget narrative should be included as an Excel format, and then the program abstract, application narrative, and appendices will all be PDF documents. If you try to upload a different type of document, the system will flag you it will give you an error message. And in the event, we hope that this doesn't happen, but in the event that you have a problem with uploading your attachments, these are just a few tips that will help you minimize your file size. Let's leave out all of the fun stuff, all of the fun graphics. We don't need those. Those aren't going to give you any extra points. Save your PDF documents in black and white, a smaller file size, and then do not include any unnecessary documents. Only provide what is asked of you. And if none of that works, there is a reduced file size of PDF documents that you can use through Acrobat Pro if you have that software program. And on screen are some instructions for you on how to reduce the file size through Acrobat Pro. Completing submission. This is now you're pretty much at the end of the online application, and you will see a data review and confirmation page. The data review and confirmation page gives you a summary of all of the information that you have entered into the online application. Make sure you look at this from top to bottom, line item by line item. Make sure that everything you entered is what you intended to enter. If you see that you need to make changes, you can click on the previous button at the bottom left of the screen, and you can go back to any particular page that you need to go to and correct that error. And then on the bottom right, you click next until you come back to this data review and confirmation page. Verify that information you corrected, if it's an attachment, verify the information that you corrected is there. And once you've verified the information, you can click the submit application button. And once you click submit application, you will have an on-screen confirmation that looks like the one on the screen that says thank you for completing the online submission. We're asking that you hold off just in case you don't receive this. Make sure you check your email to make sure that you receive. This is what the email should look like. Make sure that you receive that email confirmation. If you don't receive it, you may need to back up and make sure that you've entered the correct email address in the system, and also check your junk mail just in case. We're not able to pull certain things for you, so just make sure that now if it goes through, we can see that it goes through, but if you've entered an incorrect email, then we have no way of pulling that information for you. We're asking that you save this documentation in your records and your files somewhere that you can get back to if you need it. And I saved progress until to the end, because we're hoping that you can go through straight through the application form, because you've done all of the work ahead of time with compiling, and it doesn't take that long to go through the form if you have everything that you need. But in the event that something happens, your power goes out, or you just need to get away for a moment, there's a way that you can save your progress and come back to it. But I will mention that if you choose this option, just make sure that you keep up with the deadline. As we are less than a month away from the deadline, usually you have 30 days within the deadline to complete it. We're less than 30 days, so just make sure you keep up with the calendar. If you decide to save, your attachments will not be saved. So don't even enter if you know that you're not going to complete the application all the way through, don't even insert the attachments, because they won't save, and you'll have to do that over again. But if you need to save, there is a save and resume later link at the bottom of each screen. You will see a progress indicator at the bottom of each screen as well to let you know what page you're on. The current screenshot shows page 2 of 6, so each page has that progress indicator at the bottom of it. You click on save and resume link. You will have a on-screen message pops up that asks you if you're sure, and you click save and get link. You have two options at this point. You can there is a link, that link there in blue, that's a link that you can copy and paste somewhere that you know you can retrieve, and you can copy and paste that link somewhere. And then you have another option in which you can enter your email address to have this application emailed to you, so you can have the link emailed to you. I'd probably do both because I need to be safer than sorry. But if you don't save that link, we can't retrieve that link for you. So I would go with the safer option. Once you have chosen your option, if you've emailed that link to you, you should receive a confirmation to your email with the link there. So make sure that you receive that link before you close this screen out, just in case you need to go back and re-enter. As reminders, as I'm wrapping up the online form submission process, as some reminders, saved applications are not submitted applications. You cannot return to an application once you have submitted, but you can go back and complete another application, if you realize that you've left something out and you still have time to go back, you can submit another application, and the latest submitted application will be the one that is scored. If you The contact person will receive the confirmation email and copy of the data that is submitted. That's why it's important to make sure that you manually enter that email address and make sure that they match at the beginning of the form, and then retain your submission confirmation email and data along with the other documents from your subgrant program. And that does conclude the my review of the online application process. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them at this time. If you have questions for myself, or if you thought of anything that you had any questions for Tanya, she's still on and she can answer any questions. Now I will put my contact information on the screen.
And I did put a note, in the chat
Let's see.
that
So
very seldom will we have to use the other category in your budget.
okay.
That we don't anticipate you guys having to use that category. If you're not sure of where something should fall, just shoot us an email. Again, don't shoot the email at 1 o'clock on the 15th of April, right? Send us the email to give us time to get the email and get back to you, but there should not be too many things I can come across of that you guys will use forever. Everything that you guys are asking for should either be a salary, a fringe, a purchase service, or a supply. And please, if you have any questions, you can raise your hands or drop it in the chat. Okay, seeing that there are none, I'm going to say we're going to conclude this. However, if you have some program specific questions that you may want to ask me that's specifically relevant to your program, I'll hang on for a couple of minutes. But other than that, I'm wishing you the best of luck. Try your best. A good thing, I've been a grant writer for over 25 years. I would always get my sister, who knows nothing about what I'm doing, to read over my application to see if she understands it. So I would recommend that you guys go ahead and write it early and have somebody who totally not a part of your program read it to see if they understand what you're trying to do. They'll also be better at catching any misspelled words for you or any, those types of tricks. I've even read my applications backward, right? That'll help you catch misspelled words and missing words as well. So you want to make sure you're sending the most perfect application that you can. Be that there are no questions that I can see, we'll go ahead and end this meeting. I will hang on for another minute or so in case there's a group specific question. And best of luck. And I look forward to working with you all in the future. Have a great afternoon.